we're going to jump to Monday Night Football, and this is going to be the Houston Texans hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This should be a great game. I'm really excited about this one, but I know that our resident Texans expert Turtle is going to have quite a bit to say about this past week and the week ahead. So I want you to take it away, Turtle, on your Texans analysis and what you think is going to happen in this game.
Yeah, look, I mean, I will throw my hand up. It's early in the year, it's only one game, but as of before the season, I was very wrong about the Texans' offense. I thought they were going to be a much cleaner, um, more disciplined unit. And there were some flashes, like the interior offensive line not missing as many blitz pickups and some bright spots. But boy, did the Rams' defensive line really get after this offensive line. Um, Pretty pedestrian running the football. But really, I think the main problem with the Texans in this game was there was a lot of mental mistakes. Starting with the opening kickoff of the game, Damian Pierce letting the ball bounce and then inexplicably taking a knee in the end zone, so the ball starts at the 20 when in reality it doesn't start at the 25 anymore. You got to take that kick out. You're losing about at least 5 to 10 yards of field position. So that's kind of how I feel. And it's look, this D'Amico Ryan's team, I love how fast they play. I love how aggressive they play, but it led to some mix-ups on defense, some lack of discipline. And I'm not going to go hard on the defense because they were the only team to lose in week one that held the team to under 14 points. But just a team that didn't take advantage of their opportunities. The offense found themselves in the red zone multiple times driving the football and just couldn't capitalize. Kicked 3 field goals and towards the end of the game had a very costly fumble. So I would say sloppy week one. And look, this Tampa Bay team, um, this offense is Tampa's offense might be able to do some things. If Derek Stingley's hip is banged up, he got a little bit hurt at the end or at the beginning of the Rams game. Um, Look, Texans are kind of getting thin at some positions right now. Cade Stover on IR, out indefinitely with a broken foot. So really, you only have one healthy tight end at the moment in Dalton Schultz. Christian Kirk again questionable. So look, I need to get Nico Collins more involved. Right now, the total's at 42.5. I think that sounds about right. And the Texans are a 2.5 point favorite. I don't know. It's saying that the Bucks and the Texans are about even teams on a neutral, and I don't know if I can go that far to say that at this point. If you guys are betting folks out there, I mean, there's a little bit of value on Tampa, in my opinion. But it's week one. You played a tough defensive line. I think it gets a little bit easier this week defensively. But we'll see. Um, not as optimistic about their team as Mike is, that's for sure. But expectations are vastly different. So
I'd also
Go ahead,
piggyback.
Mike.
I'd also piggyback off that, Turtle. I think it's also I'm very curious to see the matchups that are going to be happening on the outside with likely Derek Stingley following Mike Evans, and then it'll be Emeka Egbuka, and we saw how he played last week going up against Kamari Lassiter. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see. I mean, the only person that was slightly better than Kamari Lassiter last season was Derek Stingley. So, I mean, I think I really like the under at 43 in this game. I think these are going to be kind of tough to come by. I mean, Dalton Schultz going up against Antoine Winfield. We know how big of a fan Turtle is of Dalton Schultz. I mean, he really hasn't made as big of an impact, I think, as a lot of people would have wished. But yeah, I think where you're going to get those wins up front, Turtle, is going to be, Will Anderson going up against Luke Gedke, and all the things up front that the Bucks are having to shuffle around, with the Tristan Wirfs stuff. I really like the under in this. I think it's going to be a really ugly game. I don't see the Bucks, popping off, and I mean, I think there's going to be able to get pressure to Baker Mayfield, which I'm pretty sure they were able to do for a good amount last year. When I think the two teams
they played 2 years ago. They played 2 years ago, and it was a crazy game. Like shot at 500 yards passing. But you mentioned it though, Mike, about Mecca Egbuka and Mike Evans in the cornerback, and and wide receiver matchups that I'm worried about, and I think hopefully D'Amico sees this and schemes it out. I love Jalen Petrie as a nickel. I think he's a great nickel. The problem is when Jalen Petrie's out there, they try to make him play like a man corner, and Sean McVay was eating that matchup alive with Puka and Devontae Adams, moving them to the slot, moving them in motion, getting them lined up on Jalen Petrie, who true position is a safety, but playing nickel and having to go one-on-one against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and McVay, to his credit, they only scored 14 points, but on their 2 touchdown drives, that was largely the reason why. And a good quarterback like Stafford's able to see that matchup. So again, there's going to be some adjustments made there from that perspective. I love Jalen Petrie as a nickel, but he can't be playing man defense on Emeka Egbuka in any circumstance. We saw how successful Egbuka was last week. He will get he'll point it out beforehand probably because he's a super high IQ player, but that can't be. I don't want to see Jalen Petrie manned up against Egbuka at all this week. So I'm curious to see from what adjustment D'Amico makes there. But Christian, Pat, you guys got anything? Maybe something good about my team?
Yeah, I think 2 key points. Like you mentioned, Turtle, Nick Caley has to get Nico Collins the ball. He just needs to feed him touches, spam him targets. I think that's just most important offensively. And then when it comes to the defense, extremely excited about the Lassard matchup, whether it's with Mike Evans or Egbuka. I think it's going to be a really good matchup all game long. And if Stingley plays, same as well with any of those guys. But the second key point, I think for me, last week, Graham Barton did a great job sliding to left tackle versus the Atlanta Falcons, who, as we know, no real edge to be worried about. That is not going to work this week. Tristan Wirfs is out. It's going to be tough for Baker not to struggle, I think. I think Daniel Hunter's going to have a feasting. Will Anderson's going to have a feasting. It's going to be – I think that's going to really shift the tide in this game. And I think despite some of the negative things we saw, I think the lack of run game is a big deal for Houston going forward. But I just think with the edge rushers that the Houston Texans have, I just can't see Graham Barton, who did a great job. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to have success at left tackle this week, not at the level he did last week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree just in the sense that Texans defensive line is about as talented as you'll find in the NFL. So there's obviously potential for them to take over any game. But the flip side of that is the Texans offensive line, which might be one of the least talented in the NFL, which might be able to lose them any game on any given week with how they play. So I think there's obviously boom or bust potential on either side for the Texans. I just think that the Buccaneers are a more consistent team at this point. I do feel safer rolling with them this week, even on the road. I think Baker Mayfield has shown you what a resilient and clutch quarterback he is, and what a great big game player he is as well. Emeka Egbuka has immediately solidified himself as a plus wide receiver in the NFL, which is just great to see for him, and a great pick by the Buccaneers. I really can't wait to see what that offense looks like once Chris Godwin's back and what they're able to do. But obviously they don't have him back this week. So it's going to be up to Egbuka, up to Evans, Irving in this and the Buccaneers offense to try and take it to a very talented Texans defense. As I said, I really think this is either going to be won by the Texans defensive line or lost by the Texans O-line. And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, Turtle, on my analysis, but Texans O-line's got to give CJ Stroud a chance. These past 2 years have been just brutal in terms of him not being able to really showcase his potential just based on a completely dysfunctional offensive line. And I don't think that the Texans, or that the Buccaneers for that matter, that their pass rush is one that especially scares you. But I think the Texans O-line just scares you inherently. So I think any team could really get pressure on the Texans O-line at this point. They do need to get a run game going to support CJ Stroud. I think it's just a shame what's happened with him. And I'm curious, Turtle, before we move on or anything, what your confidence level is in CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, for that matter, in terms of just getting this right for Stroud. So what's your confidence level in Stroud right now, and then in D'Amico Ryans as well?
I don't want to like over panic because of a what was a poor showing in 1 week. Like that's the thing. There's some things that need to get cleaned up for sure, and I think that starts with Nick Haley. Whatever you got to do to. Well, also we got to mention that Jake Andrews, the starting center, has a high ankle sprain. Will probably be out for this game. So Jared Patterson comes back in. He's not the same type of run blocker as Jake Andrews was. Not that Jake Andrews is a world beater in any sense either, but so I mean that's a huge issue. You're down to one healthy tight end. Cade Stover had a really good preseason and was played really well last week against the Rams. So you're losing a kind of a physical tight end there as well. So the run blocking and just running the ball in general, I think it certainly is going to be an issue, especially without Mixon. Like Chubb is kind of what he is at this point. He's a plotter. Seems like it's doing him a little bit disrespect. Like he was okay last week, but you don't have a game breaker back there. Your only game breaker on the offense right now is Nico Collins, and you gave him 5 targets last week. So I think if there's going to be a level of success for this Texans offense, it's going to come from Nico Collins. And look, the matchup this week is certainly much easier against Tampa rather than the LA Rams. I think have a top 7, 8 defensive line, maybe top 5. You can make the argument in the entire NFL. So, it could be just a case of they went up against a really good unit, but let's see if they can hold to the level of like what I would consider probably an average defensive line in Tampa. And if they can hold to that level, I think there will be some success out there for Nico Collins, possibly for Jaden Higgins. We'll see about if Christian Kirk's back or not. It would be nice to have another veteran guy out there outside of Nico, but maybe you get Jalen Noel involved. But you need to start seeing some stuff from the offense for sure. I'm not panicking on Stroud or D'Amico, not yet. Ask me again in like 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe I'll hit that button. But I actually think the Rams were a tough matchup, so it's hard to tell at this point.
Buccaneers are also a tough draw. I would say just
I don't think they're as tough.
Penix looked comfortable. I thought Penix looked pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it's certainly not playing. Gerard Verse was given Ursery. Also, the flip flopping with like putting Cam Robinson in because Ed Ingram got a injury during practice during the week. So Ursery's been at left tackle for the last 4 weeks. Cam Robinson was hurt for 4 weeks. Ursery was taking snaps at left tackle all preseason essentially, and then 3 days before the game they say you're going to have to go play right tackle. Right. And Cam Robinson's coming off of a training camp injury. And by the way, Cam Robinson didn't play well at left tackle. Has to get out there and play left tackle coming off an injury. It's tough. Shows a lot of confidence they have in Juice Scruggs, and I mean how Blake Fisher was in the game at some points, and he's looking like a bust. So they need to get the best 5 guys they can out there. I think that's Ursery at left tackle, and then if you got to play Juice Scruggs in the middle or something, I don't know, but Cam Robinson didn't have a good game last week, and I don't think he didn't have a good. He wasn't great with Minnesota at the end of the year last year either.
And I think one positive thing you got, Turtle, is the Texans defense fared really well. I mean, only two touchdowns led up to LA, and I think kind of the pass rushing tandem that you have of Hunter and Will Anderson are the ones that are going to be able to take over this game. And I mean, same could be said for Sheldon Rankins and Tim Settle. I mean, if they're able to get pressure up the middle. I think from all 3 levels of the defense, I think you guys have what it takes to make this an ugly one. It's just going to be what production are you going to get out of Nick Chubb? I mean, CJ Stroud is known as a playmaker, but he also can't make plays on his back. So, I think it's going to start from the O-line with you guys. I think maybe help establish Nick Chubb early and see kind of what you guys can get from that in terms of how you're going to be able to control the time of possession. But I think you guys win this from the defensive front out, make it an ugly game. I mean, this may be a team where if you get 20 points, you can win games with this defense. I like the under, and honestly, I like the Texans to keep it close and, maybe pull it out against the spread.
Yeah, I think, the Texans is a home underdog. There's definitely value there. So,
they're favored. Texans are favored.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, no.
It is mine.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, the Texans are favored by 2.5, as you said.
I said before there's some value on Tampa for sure. I think there's a
It
little bit of
implies a
value.
pick 'em.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pick them on a neutral, and I think you can make the argument that Tampa on a neutral is probably a half point better than the Texans right now. So I mean, I think there's a little bit of value on Tampa personally, but doesn't mean that Tampa's going to win the football game. That's for sure, or cover the
you sure
spread.
hope not. I just have a
I
hard time betting against Baker Mayfield in the big game at this point. I think he's solidified himself, especially after last week, the slow start, but being able to lead the game-winning drive. I think he's just showing you over and over again what a clutch quarterback he is. No moment is too big for him, and this is going to be a big game. I'm really excited for this one, just to watch it as a casual observer. Turtle's heart's going to be in his throat. Doesn't want to go down 0-2 with the
I know
Texans. That's for sure.
they've got a tough schedule, man. They really do. Like the first couple weeks, I knew were going to be hard. It is what it is. But I think this is a big game for Nick Haley. I think this is a big game for C.J. Stroud. This is a huge game for D'Amico Ryans. Listen, I think I said it from the beginning of the year. I think you know what you're going to get out of this defense. But at some point, man, you can't be putting up you can't be scoring 0 touchdowns. You just can't. You're not going to win football games scoring 0 touchdowns. So a better matchup, I think, for the Texans offense this week, though. If they can show me some stuff this week, and I hate to say it, just for God's sakes, just be average, especially the offensive line. Just be average. I'll be encouraged about the direction of the team. But
yep,
I need to see it.
Yep. I'm just last minute picks. Am I the only one going with the Buccaneers in this game?
I'm picking the Texans to win, but if you like spread bets, I do think there's a sliver of value on Tampa, but the Texans will win.
Mike, Christian, Mike, thoughts on who's going to win between Texans and Buccaneers here?
I'm going with the under at 43.
Yeah, but who's going to win? Just pick.
Who's going to win the game? You got to pick. You got to make picks.
I like the Texans. I like the Texans to win it and come out.
All right.
Bounce back for C.J. Stroud.
So we all on the Texans then?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're on Tampa.
I'm taking the Bucs to win. Yep.
Great.
So
awesome.
I'm a Baker believer. I'm a Baker guy.
Pat's going to be 0-2 with these first 2 picks, and I'm going to be at least one.
I'm going against the grain on these picks.